Hi everyone, I'm a student of KUS School of Business from the Department of Human Resource Management. Along with my team and I, will be expressing our views on the topic. If critical thinking is important, why do educated people find it difficult to think critically? Critical thinking is an essential skill for personal growth. Now one may ask, what is critical thinking? Critical thinking is the ability to reason unambiguously to make sound interpretations. It involves looking at facts, checking evidence, and considering different opinions to come to a finding. So many scholars describe critical thinking in different ways. Robert Ernest, a scholar, described critical thinking as a reasonable and reflective decision focused on what to believe or do. In spite of its recognized importance, many people find it difficult to think critically. Surprisingly, this is not limited to only the illiterate. Even well-educated individuals fall prey to misinformation and poor decision-making, and this creates a paradox. If critical thinking is essential for development and education is supposed to cultivate it, why do educated people find it difficult to practice it consistently? Critical thinking is difficult because human cognition is naturally vulnerable to biases and emotional influences. Consequently, education is not guaranteed for critical thinking. Instead, critical thinking requires constant practices, intellectual humility, and constant social.
My name is Ewa Richard. I'm presenting on the case of critical thinking. Critical thinking plays a crucial role in both individual and societal development. In presenting the society characterized by rapid technology, change, and vast amount of information, individual must be able to distinguish credible information from misinformation. From a societal perspective, in a small community, a rumor spread on social media that a certain herbal medicine can cure diseases, including serious illness. Many people, include some well-educated individuals, beginning using without any scientific evidence. Hospitals later begin to report confirmation and compliant cases. Students affirm to case of confirmation-based weakening information and literacy and lack of evidence evaluation.
Cognitive and psychological biases. One major reason why people find critical thinking is because human cognition is naturally impaired. According to psychology, people often rely on mental shortcuts called heuristics, which allows them to make quick decisions but can lead to errors in judgment. One common cognitive bias is confirmation bias. This is when people seek information that supports their existing beliefs, ignoring the evidence that contradicts them. Due to that, people may reinforce what they already believe, rather than objectively evaluating facts. Another important barrier is the Dunning-Kruger effect. This occurs when people with limited knowledge and skills overestimate their abilities. Because they do not recognize their own shortcomings, they may become overly confident in wrong decisions, making self-correction difficult. So let's look at how emotional reasoning interferes with thought. People often judge ideas based on how they feel rather than evidence. Emotions such as fear, pride, anger, and loyalty can influence the decision of. One of the most famous psychologists that explains this is System 1 is fast, automatic and intuitive, and System 2 is slow, deliberate, and analytical. Critical thinking depends on systems, but automatically, people prefer System 1 because it is fast and requires less. Therefore, critical thinking is difficult not because people are unintelligent, but because human reasoning favors intuition and emotional comfort, other than careful analysis and objectively value.
Good day, everyone. My name is Adi, and I'll be talking about how the social and educational barriers affect critical thinking. Critical thinking does not only affect how people think, but also the environment in which we find ourselves in. In most educational systems, students are mostly taught to memorize information and repeat whatever they have been taught in class. They are mostly judged by how well they are able to memorize the information, instead of being able to analyze ideas. peers, ask questions in the class, and make decisions. They tend to depend on their teachers and authority for constant approval instead of being able to think critically on their own. Another major barrier is the social barrier. Humans are social beings and therefore do not like the feeling of being excluded. They tend to accept the opinions of friends, relatives, and the society without asking if whether the opinions are true.
Go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gassan Vitalim, and I'm going to emphasize the fact that education does not guarantee critical thinking. The occurrence of educated individuals who do not think critically reveals the fact that education does not automatically guarantee critical thinking. Education only supports critical thinkers but doesn't guarantee critical thinking. Examples is the educational institution. Educational institution like the schools. Children go to school in order to learn formulas, definitions, and memorize facts on the basis of passing their exams, and they do not entirely rely on their knowledge on their basic knowledge about life or about social issues and mental processes. Their main end game is to pass exams. Another examples is highly superior educational individuals, whereby when information are being passed by them, no one feels the need to question their information. No one feels the need to question their information, to analyze it, to confirm if it's accurate or not, because such individuals portray information that are not accurate. Another example is the fact that being overly educated improves and enhances overconfidence in such a way that the overly educated individuals are not ready to accept their wrong, are not ready to accept their false, inaccurate information when being told, because people blindly follow them. And they do not trust, they have false beliefs because they do not trust in them, because they do not think critically. Instead, they think on educational backgrounds. Another one on Carroll's defect on the growth of information states that one is willing and able to think critically when one accepts their own faults, when one is willing to fail and then learn from their mistakes, and not just throw away or use pride to go through with their information without checking if it's accurate. He stated that in order to be a critical thinker, you need to learn, you need to be willing to look at if your information are false or not. And to conclude it, education does support critical thinking, but it doesn't guarantee critical thinking. Critical thinking needs patience and willingness to look at things, analyze information, and then learn from it.
My name is Letitia Jemfidede, and I'm here to present on Pathway Forward about critical and logical thinking. If critical and logical thinking is difficult, the solution is not just to abandon it, but rather to cultivate it more intentionally. Education reform should place a greater emphasis on inquiry, analysis, and argument evaluation rather than the rate of memorization. Students are therefore to be encouraged to ask questions, examine perspective, and justify their conclusions with evidence. Logical and critical thinking courses play an essential role in this process in such a way that it helps them to identify their failures and access evidence and also create a sound argument.
So to conclude on what my colleague said, critical thinking is difficult because it can influence people naturally through biases, emotions, social pressure, and overconfidence. Even educated people can make reasoning errors and confront other people's views. This difficulty is exactly why critical thinking is important. Critical thinking does not occur automatically. It requires conscious efforts, intellectual humility, supportive and social environment. However, education shouldn't be based on acquiring knowledge or providing information only. It should be based on reasoning skills so that people can think independently, evaluate evidence objectively, and seek the truth. Thank you.